Hello and thank you for watching Dukascopy TV. Today I'm joined in the studio by Jean-Frederic Nicollier, Executive Director of Ernst Young. Jean-Frederic, thank you very much for coming in today.
It's a pleasure.
Now we're going to be talking about data protection and the sort of problems that are arising. It seems to be in financial news even more so than ever before. Are there new problems that are arising, or why does this seem to be the case, do you think?
Financial institution always had to deal with data protection. In the past, the financial institution used to protect data from external threats. But due to the tax pressure from other countries, there's a potential risk of having data leakage going abroad, and then the banks has now to deal with internal threats. So they have to really protect their data, not only from external threat, but also from internal threats. So that's, I would say, relatively new for the financial institutions.
And what are the main difficulties in ensuring data protection?
From an internal perspective, it's a lot different than from outside, because from outside you just block the access to any unauthorized data or access. Internally, the people need to have access to their data to do their daily job. So you have to clearly limit the access to the data and avoid, as far as possible, massive upload of data to be sent abroad or to be accessible from abroad.
So what are the implications for banks with regards to new regulations that are soon to be implemented?
So from a pure tax perspective and of course IT implications, the new regulations will have a deep impact on the data model of the banks, because the banks will need to implement new processes to answer this new tax requirement. The banks will have quite intensive or heavy reporting duties, and that's why they really need to change and to evaluate their IT environment, and that's a real challenge for the bank.
What about the implications in terms of IT, of cost of improving and keeping IT up to date with regulations?
So I would say, first of all, it depends from institutions to institutions. It usually is quite expensive, but can go up to very expensive if you have legacy systems. The evolution of your systems, depending how complex it is, can be very, very expensive. You have to review the processes, the data, the ability, the consistency of the data amongst all the systems. So it could be quite expensive. Usually, it's projects which are run over years. For the bank, though, and that's the real challenges, because some new regulations are announced to be implemented very soon, and we know that some banks haven't even started their update process yet. So the challenge is really in terms of timing.
Taking all of this into consideration and all that's going on with the regulation, can customers be ensured that their data is protected?
Data will always be protected the same way, I would say. The question is against who you'd like to protect your data from. If you'd like to ensure data protection against unauthorized access from outside or from inside, I think the data will be even more protected than before. If you talk about having the customer data transmitted to other foreign tax authorities in the course of official agreement between countries, then the question is different. But today, clearly, the banks don't want to enter in undeclared money or asset anymore. So the question is more against who you'd like to protect the data. But I would say data will still be protected as they were in the past, even better now.
How are banks managing client protection in the Swiss market?
Usually the client data are quite well protected. Of course, you may have some differences from an institution to another, but usually the requirements are the same. They are quite strong. The banks are audited every year from external audit, from internal audit. Most of them require even a third-party audit, whether we talk about penetration testing, security testing, data protection testing. So I would say usually most of the data are quite well protected.
And how ready are the Swiss financial institutions to take on these changes, do you think?
once more, it differs from one institution to another, but for the institution we are in contact with, most of them have already taken their initiatives to update their system in order to be compliant with these new initiatives. After, you always have some institutions who potentially will start soon, but the deadlines are the deadlines and they can't avoid them. Well,
Jean-Frederic, thank you very much for your insight today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now that's another exclusive interview for DukascopyTV. There'll be plenty more to come, so please do stay tuned. Bye for now.